Okay, so folks, welcome to episode 3 of Heartbeats and Horsepower. So this is an extended episode actually, because we've got the lovely Rowan and Liam with us today. Not only are we going to talk about their bikes and give some information about the KTM RC125 and the YBR125, we're also going to talk about Rowan and Liam's experience of going through their CBT, why they chose these bikes, what their next steps are, and also as a bonus they're actually a couple, so we're going to talk about what it's like to ride together as a couple as well. So we'll get into it. Welcome Liam, how you doing?
Bad yourself?
Good. Welcome Rowan, thank you for taking part. So so just give us a little bit of background then. So how long have you both been riding?
So I bet you answer first.
So I started riding in January this year,
Right,
so
okay.
relatively new to it.
Yeah.
Wanted to ride for years, but
Yeah.
just never had the chance. So
Right, okay,
yeah, but
so you
loving
finally got on the bike though.
yeah.
Good. And starting in January must be an experience as well, because learning in the cold and the wet. And...
Yeah, I did my CBT in -2.
Wow.
So,
Okay,
yeah, it was very
You
cold.
can pretty much ride anything.
Yeah.
Now then. Yeah. Brilliant. And what about yourself,
So
Liam?
I started in November 2023. So when I was 16, I did my CBT, got
Yeah.
a 50cc twist and go moped.
Yeah.
That had its trials and tribulations, as you can imagine. 28
Yeah.
mile an hour official top speed.
Yeah.
It didn't like going 28 miles an hour. You'd probably get closer to 26 out of it.
Yeah.
Going on some hilly roads to school, 60 miles an hour was interesting. So going through that for a year, selling that subsequently for about 450 quid.
Right.
And then upgrading to my KTM RC125 as you see in front of you.
And very nice as it is, and we will get into it in a second actually, but I always say as well, and I said to you this morning when you pulled up, that I really like the look of the little KTM bikes. They, for somebody wanting to get into the world of sports bikes, it is an absolute gorgeous machine. It looks like a race bike, Okay, so let's give a little bit of information about the bikes then, folks. So we'll start with the Yamaha YB125 or YBR125. Obviously this is very popular with new riders. I believe a lot of riding schools actually use them. What bike did you learn on?
An MT125.
Oh, an MT125. Oh, cool. And I think, something like this, really light, really small and manageable. Ideal really for a new rider just wanting to get out there and just experience being out on the road and develop some skills. So the Yamaha, and I've got some notes so I don't forget, the YBR125 has got a max power of 10 brake horsepower at 7,800 RPM. It's a single cylinder. It's got 9.6 Newton meters of torque, 5-speed transmission, and a 13-litre fuel tank, which seems quite big actually for a bike of this size. How often do you have to fill it up, Rowan?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head,
Right,
but it only cost me like £7 when I wanted to fill it up, so I don't think about it too much.
Do you ride like often, like during the week? Do you get out regularly?
Yeah, as
Right,
often as
okay.
I can, yeah.
So you do a fair few miles then. So I guess fuel economy is fairly good as well. But to be honest, I always say fuel economy on a bike is really much of a muchness. It's just about putting fuel in and enjoying it, right? The seat height is 780 Newton meters, so ideal for smaller riders as well. And the weight is 126 kilograms wet. So as I say, it's nice and light, easy to maneuver around, especially if you're pushing it in and out of a parking space or in and out of a garage. So why did you choose this bike, Rowan?
Well, I actually wanted a Ninja 125 because I wanted a sport bike.
Yeah.
And I went and I sat on, it must have been like 4 or 5 different bikes on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
And then came across this one on a whim because they were all too high. Sat on this and just fell in love with it straight away. And I wasn't actually looking for an upright style bike.
Yeah.
But I knew from test riding it after 5 minutes that it was going to be the perfect bike for me to learn on.
So it felt right.
Yeah.
And that's a good point actually, because loads of us, and quite understandably, we see a bike and we think, yes, I want that bike, but actually it might not be as comfortable or as suitable or as enjoyable when you actually get on it. And then, like you say, you jump on something completely different and it just, as you say, felt right. Yeah. So fantastic. So we'll talk more about the YBR shortly. So let's go to the KTM in the traditional gorgeous KTM orange. So the KTM's got 15 horsepower. So again, another ideal small bike for somebody to start on if you're on a CBT. And that 15 brake horsepower is at 10,000 RPM. It's also a single cylinder with 12 newton meters of torque, 147 kilograms wet. So again, very, very light, easy to maneuver around, like I said, with the YBR. It's actually got adjustable rear shock as well on this. The front forks are not adjustable, but it's got WP suspension. WP are quite popular. Lots of track day enthusiasts, some club racers might use WP suspension as well. Seat height is 824 millimeters, so a little bit taller than the YBR. As you would imagine, being a sports bike, you're going to be up over the bars. It's also got a really nice TFT dash. This is a 2023 model, so a nice digital display, nice TFT dash, LED headlight as well, and a top speed of about 75 miles an hour. Have you experienced 75 miles an hour on this?
I've got 84 out of that.
Fair enough, yeah.
You're banging off limiter in sixth, and then
Yeah.
it will kind of force you back down to maybe about 78, 79.
Right,
Obviously,
okay.
Self-preservation, otherwise it
Absolutely, yeah.
might not last much longer than it
Pull
already
up on
has.
you.
Yeah.
And quite interesting, like a lot of new riders who are only on a CBT, but they want a sporty bike, they're interested in actually how fast can I go. Not just because people want to go fast, but you want to be able to get out of the way of traffic and overtake and so on. So that's interesting. What's the top speed you've had on the YBR?
I think I've got it up to 85.
Oh, wow.
But that's on a downhill.
Downhill.
Redlining
Tailwind,
it, yeah.
Yeah, so it's still a capable bike, right? So it's not, and again, for a learner, you don't need to go faster than that. So yeah, fantastic. So 13 litre fuel tank as well in the KTM. What do you reckon you spend on fuel roughly per week?
Say, where I don't ride it too much during the week now, because I have a car luckily, so I can use that to commute to college, etc, etc.
Yeah.
But if I'm out on like half term, going out every day with friends, etc, so I'm probably putting maybe 300 miles, 350 miles a week on it, and then that will go through probably a tank and a half. So
that's really good.
if
That's
you keep
really
up
good.
high up in the rev range, obviously it will start to burn through fuel a little bit quicker than most.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
it has a fuel kind of estimate on it, so
Okay.
I don't know if it will show you when you turn it on, but if you look here, so fuel range, so it will kind of give you an estimate about how much you've got left.
Yeah, good, good.
It's quite accurate in kind of when it's been tested.
Yeah, yeah. Brilliant. That's really good, because a lot of bikes, I mean, my bike doesn't have a fuel gauge either. It's just, it has a fuel light, but not a fuel gauge, but I just have to guess.
Mine doesn't even have that.
So, my throat's going now. So, for both of you then, like, what got you into bikes? Why bikes?
I moved back to Swindon and kind of just picked it up on a whim. I just thought, like, this is the time for me to do it. And you know, when you get an idea and you just sort of stick with it. And then did the CBT and came back from it and was like, well, if I don't get a bike now, I'm not going to ride again for God knows how long. So went and bought this like 2 weeks later, and then went and bought a bigger bike like 2 weeks after that.
Because you've got an SV650
yes,
as well,
I
haven't
do,
you?
yeah.
And we'll get onto that.
Yeah.
But what got you into bikes in the first place? Is it something you've always been interested in?
Yeah, I just love them. Like, I was always watching people go by on their own bikes. My dad used to ride, he had an Aprilia when he was younger, and he'd like tell me stories about it. He doesn't ride anymore because he can't, but yeah, they've just always piqued my interest.
Oh, fair enough. And what about yourself, Liam?
So-
What got you into bikes?
When I was younger, kind of talking maybe 7, 8, 9, 10,
Yeah.
I would go do a lot of go-karting, and then simultaneously picked up on the mini motos.
Yeah.
So, you know, dragging knee at 9, 10 years old, if you will.
Yeah, having some fun.
From there, I had family members who ride, so especially my uncle on my dad's side of the family.
Yeah.
Really experienced road rider. Loved riding his track bike, so he had his ZX10 along with an SV650S until he unfortunately crashed a few years ago.
Okay.
Really bad damage to his arm.
Yeah.
The joke is he's like the Terminator now. You know, if you were to grip his arm,
Loads
you
of
could feel
metal.
all the metal inside. So
Yeah.
kind of watching him race, and then along with the fact my dad had a bike when he was younger, watching loads of YouTube. So kind of just being exposed to it from an early age, I think, really set me up for that passion going forward to when it was, oh, look, maybe I can't do it like the Americans do where it's 16 and then anything goes, but there's a system here that I can see myself fitting into quite nicely.
And that system, I completely agree with the progressive route to a full A license. I disagree with the cost that it takes, because it is a lot of money, but I do agree that, you know, having someone at the age of 16, 17 jumping on 1000cc, having never ridden before, is obviously very, very dangerous. It's controversial, and some people might comment differently, and that's fine. So going back to your CBT, so Liam, yours was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yours, Rowan, was in January. So with you first, Liam, what do you remember, what sticks in your mind about your CBT? If somebody was to ask about, you know, what would you recommend, what tips have you got?
Obviously I did mine on a 50cc moped, so the tips I can maybe offer are slightly different to what Rowan can offer, just for the fact that she did hers on a 125 and a geared one at that.
Yeah.
So if you are 16 and you're looking to do your CBT, the best bet is, and it's going to sound silly, just really try and be as confident as possible, not arrogant, because the road won't appreciate that at all once you get out on it.
Absolutely.
But I came from a background in driving tractors, so I had some time out on the road before getting onto my 50cc and doing my CBT. Yeah. So obviously the layout of days, you get there, make sure you have, well, basics, your helmet, so your gear that fits you properly. Good. At that point, they'll break down the day to you, so there's really no pressure on you to go, oh, I have to be here at this time, or I have to be doing this and that. Yeah. Just kind of follow the instructor's lead. He'll show you, well, he'll give you a basic rundown of what you're going to be riding for the day. Then you'll go from there on to kind of your basic pulling off, stopping, all your basic kind of manoeuvres that you'll need in the day-to-day life when you're riding, and then your slow control, and that will kind of form your morning part of the session. And in the afternoon, after some lunch, you'll go out on your road ride. Yeah. That's where you get to put those, well, I'll say limited skills at that point into practice. So tips would be, don't rush, you know, you are a learner, just like I am. No one's expecting you to be as competent or as confident as the bigger bikers you'll see around you. So take it at your own pace. Your instructor is there to not only guide you through the day, assess you, but also if you weren't to make the criteria to pass, that's never a reflection on you. Like, you're not a bad rider, you just haven't maybe got the skill set at that moment in time to it's just training, isn't it? It's just training rather than a test. And for yourself, Rowan, then, so what sticks in your mind from the CBT? Like, how did it feel going into your CBT?
I was really nervous because I didn't have any previous riding experience. I'd never sat on a motorbike before, so I just didn't know what I was going into. But actually, the school that I went to made me feel really safe and respected while I was there. And even though the person doing their CBT at the same time as me was doing it on a moped and I was doing it on a geared bike, treated us both equally and gave us the same amount of attention. That's good. And there was a point in the day where, when we were still doing the pad exercises, and I was still, it wasn't quite clicking, and I was getting a bit frustrated with myself because I was like, I know I can do this, and I'd shown that I could do it at one point, but I was making silly little mistakes. And I just said, can I just have like 10 minutes and go get some food and warm back up and just refocus? Clear your head. Exactly, And at that point it was, if I get some food and I warm back up and it's still not clicking, I'll go home and I'll come back and do it another day. And I didn't put too much pressure on myself, but I really wanted to get it done that day because I wanted to be able to go straight back out onto a bike. And they were just really, they just really looked after me, and it was the perfect welcome into the bike community. Fantastic. That's really good to hear, because quite often I get people who are maybe got their CBT coming up and they ask for advice, and I think the biggest thing is just the mindset that you go into it with. But then also I always recommend just build up some rapport with your instructor, because that's going to put you at ease, or at least help to put you at ease, you know, especially if you're nervous. So in terms of next steps in your biking journey, you've got your direct access coming up in a couple of months, Rowan, is that right? Yeah. When are you doing that? July, hopefully. And then you'll get onto your SV650, and it'll be a whole new world. So the SV650 V-twin, I've got some specs actually written down. So it's a 90-degree V-twin, so a traditional Suzuki V-twin engine, 72 brake horsepower, so a huge difference from your YBR, 64 newton meters of torque, 169 kilograms dry weight, so wet weight will be a little bit higher than that, and a 17-litre fuel tank. Now the SV650s are classic bikes. Loads of people love them, loads of people buy them for track bikes, and loads of people modify them, and I think it's a great choice and a great step up, really. So what about yourself, Liam? What's your next steps in your biking journey? Obviously, where I'm 17, I'm still unfortunately restricted by age, so I'm going to go and do my A1. That is my kind of immediate next steps over the rest of the summer, just to ditch the L plates, hopefully lower down my insurance payments, because let's face it, a newer bike and a obviously younger lad,
don't mix very well when it comes to getting insurance quotes, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So other than that, I'm going to obviously be working over the summer. So if the money is there and I put in the hours, I'm hopefully looking to go and buy myself a dedicated track bike. Whether that
nice.
be an old mid 2600.
Yeah.
So kind of maybe 2007, 2008 R6 I was looking at for $2.5 grand. Obviously I know that is definitely a rather large step up, but for me, I do enjoy going quickly and trying to advance that whole kind of section of my riding and those skills.
And the track is the right place to develop those skills, you know, with less risk. Not no risk, but less risk.
No, but then if you think about bikes, nothing has no risk to it, right? And bikes especially. But ultimately, being on track as well with people who are really far and really superior to the skills that I have, it puts me in that right zone to go, right, okay, I am here, you guys are there. How do I slowly bridge that gap and
gives you
work
something
on it
to aim
over
for
the next few seasons to come?
Brilliant. Yeah, that's really good. And have you looked into the cost of the A1?
So I have as far as the government figures. So tests, I want to say your theory test is £23, I believe. So I think it's the same price as your car.
Okay.
With mod 2 being, I want to say £75 on weekends and I think 63 in the week.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. And mod 1 not being super expensive. Obviously what can make it expensive, I know especially if you're doing your A2 or your A, is hiring a bike and then the training you get before it. So like doing your direct access course. So hopefully I will be able to minimise those costs just by investing in a set of cones, going to a car park and really working on the slow control before going riding independently to the test and passing.
And then if you can go into that, head and shoulders above in terms of the confidence levels and the skills you're going to need to demonstrate on the test, obviously, it's going to make life a lot easier. So for both of you, this is a two-part question really. So the first part of the question is, what bike do you aspire to own eventually? And then the second question is, what is your dream bike? Money, no object. We'll stick with you, Liam.
So when people have asked me this question before, I can't ever give maybe a one bike answer because I love motorcycling as a whole. So there's different flavours, different varieties. Variety is the spice of life, as they say. So ideally I see myself sticking with sport bikes for the foreseeable future. So bikes that I aspire to own would be at 19 kind of, I've had to go on the SV. I know it's a V-twin, but I did still really like it. So maybe an SV650S, or kind of it's hard because obviously middleweight sport bike category for A2 is largely dominated by twin cylinders. So
it is.
Kind of, if you were to look at that, maybe the only kind of inline fours being the CBR 650R, making 94 horsepower, so the very top of what you can get restricted down.
Yes.
Or if I have to look at maybe things like the CBR 500R, if I can't get insured on the bigger bikes, and then kind of going forward from that, looking at bikes that I could see myself owning without, being in some serious financial misfortune, being like you're slightly older, but you're still big, 1,600s. Yeah. I'm not really fussed when it comes to manufacturer. Every bike has their quirks, and being able to kind of chop and change if you have older bikes.
I guess it goes back to what we said right at the start. You get on a bike as long as it makes you feel good. Doesn't matter who's made the bike, right? And what about yourself then, Rowan? What bike do you aspire to? Let's say other than your SV650.
I always wanted to try a Ninja 400, and I know that technically that's like a cc step down from the 650. But I think size-wise, they would be something for me to get used to, and it's a different challenge in terms of maneuverability. So not necessarily that the bike is more powerful, but that I'd have to adjust my riding style on it and get used to being a shorter rider on a bike that is necessarily going to be bigger for me. Because my dream bike is an R1, and they're a lot bigger. So I'd have to get used to that. Just in terms of stopping and starting in corners and things like that, there'll always be a challenge.
Well, the R1's fantastic. I was chatting to someone earlier this morning, actually, who had an R1. A friend of mine's got an R1. I've ridden R1s. They are amazing bikes, So, folks, to help bring us to a close, what I thought was worth talking about, because biking is obviously dangerous, or it can be dangerous. And normally, traditionally, and certainly for me, I go out on my bike and my partner is at home, always in the back of her mind worrying about, is anything going to happen? But you both ride together as a couple. So tell me about that. What's that feel like? Is there any worries? Is there any fears? Or are you just carefree and enjoy life?
I get told off a lot.
Okay.
That's one reason you have the Cardos is that when I do something stupid, I can get screamed at.
He gets, Liam!
Put that front wheel back on the ground.
Well, not on that, maybe.
Stop overtaking on a blind corner!
When I go on the SV, I get told off about the speed a decent amount of time, but it's in. I shouldn't admit this on camera actually. So there's a time and a place, folks, and, for enjoying yourself and riding a bit more spiritably.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But other than that, when we were riding together, I would say there aren't really any concerns because you're kind of enveloped in the moment of riding with her, and then when we're out with friends as well, you're all so encapsulated in kind of enjoying your time that the risks kind of fade away, if you will. You're not focused on that, because if you were focused on it, I think it's called Murphy's Law, where if it's in psychology, if you really
manifest it.
Yeah.
You think about something so much, it's more than likely to happen, right?
Yeah, but then other than that, you've had there's been that time maybe a month ago when we were
longer than a month.
When was it?
A couple of months ago, we were out for a group ride and I crashed on the way back, and he had already gone way ahead. He wasn't anywhere near. And a couple of my friends stayed with me while I got the bike back up and like made sure it was okay. And one of our friends went and rode off and told them, but we didn't say where we were going, so me and some other friends went a different way home. Meanwhile, he was bottling it back down country roads in the middle of the night, trying to find where I'd crashed.
No way.
Is there a bike is there a bike on the side of the road or something? Kind of giving an indication
or a hole in the bushes somewhere.
Exactly. You're looking, obviously, hand tinted visor doesn't help, so you're doing not ludicrously fast speeds, but you're 50, 60 taking bends, just trying to look for obviously where she's gone off, and then you message someone, we're back
I'm
in
home now.
Cheers for that.
Yeah.
But the whole point was that you got home safely, and that you're here to tell tale. I think that's the biggest thing you can ask for if you ever have an accident. Is just, Mum would always say to me, whether it be with bikes or the cars, they're pieces of metal, they can be replaced.
Exactly.
You can't.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
and I mean, it's like the danger is always there, of course, but the fact that you're riding together and loving it and enjoying it, I think is amazing. And I guess the other bonus is when bike parts turn up at the door in the post, there's no complaints from either of you, right?
I mean, well, there'll be complaints from the neighbours, that's for sure. If you get that full system I showed you for the making,
brilliant.
110 decibels with the baffle.
Lots of noise.
So the final thing then for you both, just in a word or a couple of words, one bit of advice for new riders. Rowan.
Don't let your spirits be knocked if things don't go exactly how you think when you start, because it is a learning curve, and every time something goes wrong, it's an opportunity to do better next time.
That's fantastic. Really like it. And yourself, Liam?
So, there's two things. One is similar to that, is just never give up. Really have some tenacity to learn. You know, you invested in the gear, you potentially invested in the bike, and ultimately the passion hasn't found you just willy-nilly, right? So just really give it everything you've got, and no one can ask any more from you. And other than that, in terms of once you do pass your CPT or your direct access or whatever riding qualification you're going for, just seriously get out there. If you don't have friends who ride, there are Facebook groups, Swindon Bikers being one. Just really get out there, really connect with other bikers, and then it will overtake your whole life.
Brilliant. That's
in a
awesome.
good way. In a good way.
That is fantastic. So thank you very much to both of you for taking part. It's been really great, and it's been great to meet you again. So folks, if anybody else wants to take part in this, if you want to meet up and we'll do a conversation about your bike or any other topic really, just get in touch with me and we'll make it happen. We're filming this outside the Motorcycle Megastore. So if you want any bike gear, helmets, equipment, accessories, leathers, textiles, you name it, pop down to the the Mega Motorcycle Store in Swindon. The staff are fantastic, the prices are amazing, and they'll always help you out. But other than that, thank you very much. We'll get some shots of the bike and add those to the end of the video. But for now, Rowan,
thank you.
Been a pleasure.
Liam,
thank you very much. Brilliant. Cheers, folks.